Hello everyone, this is Charity Ezemwa Onaku, the founder and CEO of WealthyGen and creator of the WealthyGen Smart Planner. For this video, I want to talk about the pros and cons of buying a savings bond. Every investment has the good and the bad side, and it's important to understand these things when making your investment decisions. In my last video, I talked about what a savings bond is, the types of savings bonds, the limits, the rates, and how you can buy them. Be sure to check that video out if you have not. I will put the link to that in the description. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of buying a savings bond? Let's start with the advantages. And one advantage I really like, and some of you may not agree with me on this, is that buying a savings bond is an act of patriotism. Now, although you are buying a savings bond for your own financial goals and gains, but when you buy a savings bond, you are basically lending money to the government and supporting the government financially. That is an act of patriotism. Do you agree with me? Please share in the comments. The other advantage of buying a savings bond is that when you buy a savings bond, you are guaranteed to get your whole investment back plus interest when you hold your investment until maturity. Now, that is why buying a savings bond is considered one of the safest investments out there because it has lower risk compared to the other investment options. The other good thing about buying a savings bond is that it comes with a lot of tax advantages. You know, while we focus on making money, we should also pay attention on how much of that money we actually keep for ourselves. Most investment options come with tax liabilities, but buying a savings bond comes with a lot of tax advantages. And one of them is that you won't have to pay any local or state taxes on the interest payments you receive from your savings bond. That is number one tax advantage. The other tax advantage is that when you use the proceeds from your savings bond to pay for qualified educational expenses, you may qualify for federal tax break. What that means is that you won't have to pay any federal taxes on those interest payments when you use your proceeds to pay for qualified educational expenses. That is number two tax advantage. The other tax advantage is that assuming that you didn't use your proceeds from your savings bond to pay for educational expenses, that means you won't have to owe federal taxes on interest, right? But because you have savings bonds, you can defer the federal taxes on those interest payments. What that means is that you don't have to pay that right away when the interest is paid. You can defer the federal taxes and pay later when you cash in or liquidate your savings bond. Those are the tax advantages of having a savings bond. Now, let's talk about the fourth advantage of buying a savings bond, and that is the fact that kids can actually hold assets in their own names. Most investment options do not allow kids to hold assets in their names. They rather prefer assets to be held in a custodial account under the name of an adult. But with the savings bonds, kids can actually hold assets in their own names. So next time you're thinking about a birthday gift or a holiday or a graduation gift for your children or your loved ones, think about buying a savings bond for them in their own names. So what are the disadvantages of buying a savings bond? Everything has the good and the bad side, right? And one good thing we talked about savings bonds is that it has low risk. It's a low risk investment. But remember the risk return trade-off, which states that high risk investments have higher returns and lower risk investments have lower returns. And this is one disadvantage of buying a savings bond. Because it's a lower risk investment, the returns are also low. It means when you invest in savings bonds, you won't earn as much return as you would if you invested in other more aggressive investment options. The next disadvantage of savings bonds is the length of time you are required to hold your savings bonds. Savings bonds are long-term investments, and for you to get the maximum return on your investments, you will need to hold your savings bonds for a long time. US savings bonds are typically held for 20 to 30 years. The other disadvantage of savings bond I like to talk about is the fact that unless you use the proceeds from your savings bonds to pay for qualifying educational expenses, you would owe federal taxes on the interest payments you received from your savings bonds. What other disadvantages of savings bonds do you know? Please share with me in the comments below. Someone asked how they can cash or redeem their savings bonds. So there are two ways you can redeem your savings bonds depending on the kind of savings bond you have. The paper savings bonds are still available and also still redeemable. So if you have the paper savings bonds, you can just walk into any financial institution and cash it in. But if you have the electronic savings bonds, you can log on to treasurydirect.gov and cash it in. It will be deposited directly into your bank account. That's all I have for today. Visit WealthyGen.org for more resources. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in my next video.